Hello there, my name is Amina Hashi for CBA TV. Welcome to another part of our series, Somaliland, the Democracy Untold. The past week has been dedicated to vote counting, not only to allow for the citizens of Somaliland to witness the outcome of their democratic rights, but also allowed the country to stand out as a beacon in a region where democracy is not always a straightforward process. However, as the results flowed in, one thing evidently stood out: the lack of female representation in the ever-important legislative parliamentary sector. Now, we cannot claim democracy and inclusion if a vital and important part of our society is not represented. In the studio with me today is Dr. Amal Ali. She's an international lawyer who lectures at the University of Hargeisa and the Franz Fanon University. She's also the CEO of a law firm here in Hargeisa, AQN. Welcome, Dr. Amal. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I also have with me Oud parliamentary candidate from the region of Sanag, Saadia Al Muse. Welcome, Saadia. Now, Saadia, let's get straight into it. The numbers, the facts, the figures, they showed that females were the highest majority of voters. From an outside looking in, we would expect that that majority would be represented in the votes and in the results, but they were not. What do you think went wrong?
Thank you very much for organizing this. The biggest issue, there are two factors that's really not allowing women to come to be representative. And the first one is the clan. Because this has been, the whole system has been set up in a clannish way. You have to be selected by your clan, and you have by elders of your clan, and then you have to by clan acceptance, and then you have to be campaigning with the name of your clan, more or less. So that was not the biggest problem this time. But I think the biggest problem also is that there's no seriousness in bringing women in by the politicians, whether it's the parties, the president, even the commission. Commission were actually very, very active in deleting women out of the system, so in their own representatives. So I think that let's say the politician, the political system, from the not at the bottom level, but from the top level, is the one who is really removing women out of the system.
So there was not enough endorsement from...
No endorsement is from the politicians, no endorsement from the political heads, party heads. They were not really, there's no assistance whatsoever. There was no seriousness in bringing women into the system, except the first election, that's it. That's all. They haven't done anything at all.
Dr. Amal, what do you think? Where did we go wrong?
From my perspective, firstly, Rome wasn't built in a day. And I think there were a lot of social barriers that women face from the start, as Saadia mentioned, when we look at sort of the clan systems and the way in which women are put forward by their parties. There's a lot of barriers there. There are social barriers, there were legal barriers, there were political barriers, there were economic barriers. There was lack of buy-in from the political establishment, but also on the ground, I don't think enough awareness has been raised as to the way in which having women parliamentarians, of having women in positions of powers can actually help societies develop. So I think there definitely needed to be a grassroots campaign, so that people themselves choose to move beyond the usual traditional clan systems. I also think that while there was some sort of goodwill, this was never actually carried out, right? So initially there was some goodwill. I mean, there was the introduction of the quota, and then when that went through the process of getting that legalized, that was cancelled. Then the political parties said, okay, we will informally create a quota, and each one of us will put forward 6 women and a candidate from a minority clan. And even that, not all of them went through with that. And so I think another area that women really struggled with was, so the legal infrastructure to support them wasn't there. The political infrastructure to support them wasn't there. The social infrastructure to support them wasn't there. And to run a campaign is extremely expensive. right? And women don't have the same economic supports as men have. Men will have their clan members collecting money for them. Men will have donations. Men have all the economic capital in Somaliland, and women cannot access this. So that's another barrier. So I personally think the way in which we went wrong, and you can correct me if you disagree, Sadia, is to have a top-down approach is never going to work. We need the approach to be bottom-up as well, so that we have the buy-in and the support of the local community, because I'm equally as delighted as Sadia is that Barkhad won. And you can see, you know, considering he had 20,000 votes, you can see that the local community really supported his cause. He really had a strong social media campaign. He really had a strong support from the local community, from the political parties. He had, and I think that if the women candidates, not to compare, comparison is the thief of joy, but not to compare, but I think if women had the similar infrastructure in place for them, then that would have made quite a difference.
If I can,
no, but I can for just one point. I think when it comes to clan, one thing has been proven. You know, they were always saying, "Oh, the elders and the community on the ground will not select women." It was actually that was not true. All of us, most of us, has been endorsed. And all the campaigns, I actually experienced everything that the men was. I've been, I had the economic, I have the social, I have quite a large number of it. But I hadn't. What the problem is, so from the local pursuit. And then when I say clan is not because I'm not being selected. It's because the ticket has been played on clan. You know, your clan has to come up. That's how it's been built. It's not built as, you know, I'm very, very happy that Hargeisa bypassed this system and at least bring two people out beyond the traditional and cultural and social type of campaigning that we have. But when you look at the campaign, it's your clan. So it is clannish. It's not because the parties are not electing their cadre. They have never organized a system where they can select the people themselves. Okay, and then they create the system that you can that can help you. The infrastructure on the ground, whether it's social media, whether it is cultural things. The barriers are occurring because they are not, the parties are just there. They only endorsing people they think that will come up, only from the ground. So it is up to me to go to the party and get a position so that I can compete. That's a very, very bad, you know, as far as I'm concerned. It should come from the other way around. The political parties has established their own system and people, and then they can select from that. That will bypass the me clan type of election. It's now the me clan, and everybody is competing to beat everybody else. So there's no way. Okay, you can still come up because I want it, to be honest with you. But the issue is you cannot. There's no venue or there's no system on the ground. There's no infrastructure on the ground that could actually cater for people really who wants to come up.
Sorry, let me get into that. What is the support from the political party like for a woman candidate as yourself?
Nothing. There was nothing. There was. But it was everybody. It's the same with everybody else. There's no support on the ground that could help you as the political parties are not organized in a manner in which they can help the candidates at all. That's, I think, for both women and men and women. But especially they have never had. I don't see any from the local, from the regional or from the top level. There was no support whatsoever, except we have been endorsed by the party and that's it. After that, it was up to you whether you get it or not get it. Even in the selection and the last, when it comes to commission, people who are the commissioners of the region, with their computer, they have the ability to change anybody they want. And that's happening in front of our eyes. It happened everywhere else. So the commission, I really blame, at this point, I really blame the commission. I'm telling you what, in Senag region, we had Ergaba district, the bowling boxes, all came on time. Even in Dahar and Badan, they actually came on time. Their boxes were in. Elephant was just held up on the top. Nobody brought it. And it was supposed to be there by the second day. It was not happening. And then what happens? We are all have got all our markers and everything else. Then 3 o'clock in the middle of the night, Elephant and Garadak topped everybody else. Why? It never was. So for as far as I'm concerned, they looted the whole thing. It is obvious. Why? Because otherwise, in 2 days' time, you could have contested these boxes, but it was not there at all until the end. And 3 o'clock in the middle of the night, announcements were made. In the morning, we wake up to completely different results. So, as far as I'm concerned, the commission was responsible. Whether it's the region, I don't know. Whether it's this one commission, but we blame the commission.
So you're saying it was unethical?
It was not ethical at all. If at all, they couldn't bring it on time. Maybe it was right with fingers, but they should have been there by the second day, as the rule says. Instead, they just disappear completely until the end. So that is completely, I think this is a really mess up from the regional commission. I don't know whether the main commission accepts it or not, I don't care, but I think as far as it's completely unethical. The way they behaved it, the way they brought it, the numbers was not making a lot of sense. It's completely like we have 65,000 in Ergabo district alone. They have 34 something. 29 of them is voted. There's a bit of famine in the area. Population are too scarce. The region is too big. The polling stations are too far apart and too small. There's no way they can do that. No way. So as far as I'm concerned, and the commission accepted it. They have no questions asked.
Have you put in a complaint?
When do I make a complaint? It's already announced. By the time you do that, you have to do it to Hargeisa, you have to do it. It's just a mess. We never given the chance. I know other girls. I know my local government candidate. She was leading one time, then they dropped her to 3. It was a district thing, it's not a regional thing. What changed it all of a sudden? She's not there. And many other girls are complaining about that one. Just elimination for the last minute.
So that is an issue that has to be looked into. Amal, from the perspective of the law, are there any bodies apart from the Electoral Commission that tackles such?
No, there's no transparency. No. To be honest, the Commission has no transparency whatsoever.
The Commission is the only body that deals with complaints. So the Commission has its own dispute resolution mechanism that deals with it. They've got their own dispute resolution board or committee that deals with complaints from the election. I know that when a complaint is made and it needs to be appealed, it goes to the regional courts if it's a district issue, and the Supreme Court if it's a parliamentary issue. I also know that during the day of the election, Nagad, for example, had a situation room whereby female candidates could call up and put in a complaint about any of their issues, which I personally thought was a brilliant initiative. So female candidates would call up and discuss or report any issues that they had. And then within their women's situation room, they would have people there from the different political parties, people there from the police, the emergency services, the NEC, so the Electoral Commission, people there from a representative there from the Somaliland Disability Group, who would then take those complaints and pass it forward. So I know a lot of complaints were made that day after.
Well, no, I have been given the number, thanks to Negad and others. But we were not being harassing. This is when you have been harassing in that something. Yeah. There was nothing like that. Yeah. All girls were 2 of us in the same district. Yeah. We were campaigning. We were going everywhere. Nobody was insulting us. Nobody was doing anything at all. It was I think in that level, it was a really uneven blame that we really work with. Yeah. It is when it comes to the commission That's when things change. It's not because it's there, because we have got our observers everywhere. They were actually reporting numbers. We have people who is in the district for level who also reporting our numbers. It's okay, but then when it comes to the commission, that's when things change. You have your figures, but then you have got somebody else's figures completely disappearing. I think it's very difficult even to the issue of complaining. You can complain. It's better when you think that your numbers has been taken or your boxes has been looted or something like that. When it comes to this general ones, there's nothing you can do about it. I can do it and can always come say, oh, this goes looted this one, that one looted this one. It was obvious in Sol and Seneg. Both of them have been the same situation. The commission knows. They never even talk about it. They never challenged it. So it is known. Everybody knows it. At least that is what the general information that we have is like this. Okay, so there's a lot of complaints everywhere else. What did they do? So far, have we seen anything change it? It is taking a long time even to do that. It will be, I haven't been to Elephant or Garadag, so proving it in itself is going to be a challenge. But in logics, where you have got the city council numbers completely overpassed by the parliamentary by 8,000. It shows. It's the same ballot box. So everybody is reading the same ballot box. It should be near to each other. If I'm having this, the number is coming out from the local government and the number is coming out from the parliamentary groups in the same box. Cannot be, you can't have it 8,000 apart. Where does that 8,000 votes came from? Where? We have to ask the commission. They have to ask that question themselves, not us.
This is, once again, I'm just talking about legally. I'm talking about what's on paper. I can't speak to your lived experience at all, so I will take your word for it. And I'm sorry to ask the questions. But the commission has a list of voters. Surely they count the people who voted against the votes in the ballot box. Like we
no, but the issue is, in all the ballot boxes, this is a country where this is a region that people are really far apart. Most pastoralists, they tried their best. They may not necessarily have the chance to come, all of them, and do it. So what's happening in the areas I was, we had a lot of ballots coming back. Like you have got 500 ballots in a box and you see 250 comes back, or 150 comes back, or 300 comes back. How could they don't? And we have a better train than theirs, train in terms of environment. How could they bring it? In their whole thing, only 4,000 people were not voting, or 3,000 people were not voting. With the practical ground on the rails is really saying something completely different. It is. You can have 500, but you can also always have collect 250 coming to the people. 300 people may come. You still have 200 ballots. It's coming back with the boxes. So in the district of Elgavo, I think, I'm not sure of the figures, but I think like 30,000 only voted against 65. Garadag and Elephant, they only lost 4,000 left of the ballots, meaning 29,000 or something like that voted in their own area. So it's against the reality on the ground. Even if you don't do it anything else, the reality is completely different from that one. So obvious. What can we say? And so from the practical part of it, you can, and then they didn't bring the whole thing immediately. They kept silent until the announcement day. And the announcement was 3 o'clock in the night.
Amal, is this an issue that is ready to be appealed on?
I think it is. I think there is an issue. I mean, as Sadia so beautifully said, I mean, Somaliland has proven in some ways that it is ready to back independent candidates, independent of clan. What we women have to do, as you said, is to mobilize and to share and to explain and to educate why having women in decision-making roles is important. I would even go beyond what you say, and I would say actually not just in the political parties, not just in the commission or in the government, but beyond that, beyond that across all sectors, in the boards of companies. as head teachers of schools, in the media. You know, once women's voices and experiences are normalized, I don't think there's anything stopping Somaliland from having a good number of women in political power. And the one thing that I would like to add is, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yes.
In the UK, women had suffrage 1918.
Yes.
It took decades for women to actually be elected. So I would appeal to the audience to not feel disheartened.
And we've come a long way.
And we've come a long way. There's been some progress thanks to Sadia and the work done by women, you know, alongside you. Glass ceilings have been shattered. So let's be hopeful and let's mobilize.
We have to be, you know, we disprove all the assumptions that we used to have and the negative concepts. It's just, we as you say, we shattered that ceiling already. Now, instead of complaining, let's stop complaining. Let's act.
Yes.
We are acting. We have next one. We have to have a large number of women actually elected, and we can do it. We realize that we do it. Okay, maybe Hargeisa is a bit advanced from the regions, but I think that it was the same. The social media is being used by the countryside, by the pastoralists.
Yes.
So why not? Why don't we use this thing very seriously? And I think all this, the women, because we have you know, one thing that really delighted me most of the time is to see all these young women, highly educated, whether they come from the country, whether they come from the diaspora, or whether they are educated here. A large number of girls are now coming to the scene. Now we cannot sit back anymore and complain not being employed, or we cannot sit back and being elected. We cannot sit back, as you say, not populating all these ones. We have to break the barriers, but we can break it in unity, not one by one. We can do it. So I think what we do is, from the experience of this election, we should have now, I think we are mobilizing ourselves as we used to be mobilized in the first, on the 2001, 2002, 2000, then the parties will disappear. Now, I think we should have the chance to really completely and push ourselves to break the real barriers, so that we don't have to complain all the time. We are really, it doesn't matter whether we have succeeded or not, but I think I'm very happy that I tried, very happy that I really learned a lot, and we can use that knowledge seriously. We learn a lot.
This is only the beginning.
The beginning. So at least we have the right path.
Yeah, and absolutely you have succeeded. You've shattered glass ceilings. You have succeeded. Yeah.
I am so happy to, I can write a book if I have the time to really the experience we had. Maybe we can just put it together and have a book.
Like, you know, an edited collection.
Collection.
Gives us knowledge for the next generation.
For the next generation, not only for this generation, and the next generation, and the next generation. Because we have so much. I gained it. I was working in this country for the last 20 years. But I gained it that 4 months, and I was sick for 2 months actually. I was not, I have COVID victim, but you select that one. But for the 15 days, I only have 15 days to really campaign. It was an eye opener.
Yeah.
It was
and 6 days officially.
Right? 6 days officially. That's what I have really.
Yeah.
So it's I have to tell you, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether I get it or not, it was a very good experience. I liked it. I will not.
If I can ask, so if this, the said quotas we've discussed and all, can we assume if these said quotas are put into place and are established, is this going to increase the number of women participants, you think?
Yeah, it gives you a better chance. But I think we don't need the quota anymore. We have to have the ability to really change the situation in our way. Because that quota has been always a barrier there. Everybody was saying, the constitution is not accepted. They always have got an excuse of not doing it. Yeah. I think we should not waste our time anymore for quotas of that. We have to go and kill where the killing is there.
And also, when we talk about women participation in politics, and women do participate, the majority of voters are women.
Right? But let me touch on that. That's something actually that I wanted to get to. Big majority of women. Why are they not voting for women? Is it an
Because I
issue
am
of
clan.
trust?
You have to realize, the pride of the clan is still there. The pride of the clan. The women are not different. I always ask anybody, oh, why should women? They will not. Because the minute that campaign comes in, it is our clan. Women are part of that clan. They are not going to, few women can disassociate themselves from the clan. We cannot disassociate from the clan.
Okay.
So don't waste your time on that one. Women, it's not because they don't like women, it's not because they don't understand. You know, we haven't been reached that position where they say, okay, I don't want about this clan, why shouldn't I select that woman? It's not there. It is still structured as clan thing, and they are part and parcel of that clan.
So just to add to that, I completely agree, Sadia. A second issue that women have is, yes, women are part of the clan, they participate in the clan, and when a group of people historically are marginalized, they will hold on to whatever privilege they have, right? So if you have privilege because you're from a majority clan, you do not want your clan to lose that power, because that means you will become even further marginalized. And so what happens then is women, instead of voting for other women, will think, right, I'm already marginalized, I'm already a woman, I'm already excluded from certain parts of society, or I feel excluded from certain parts of society. So I'm not going to remove or move away from some of that privilege that I already have. So I'm going to vote for my clan. In order to kind of maintain whatever little power.
Why face the wrath of the clan and be further pushed away from the clan when you can conform with their ideals inside?
Exactly.
And it's the youth who can play that game out completely, because usually, especially the youth in the outside, in the top big towns, they're not as important as the woman for campaigning. You know, the clan is, I saw it with my own eyes. Those women who completely not in line with that clan are completely excluded. And that really is not a good one to do. So, but the youth there are too many now and widespread over, but not necessarily, you know, dependent on that type of things. They are not being, some of them will still work with you, but the bulk of it is not. So who they vote.
But that's another form of privilege within the power structure, right? Because it's the youth in the urban areas who have economic power. If you're further marginalized because you're in the rural area, you're pastoralist, you don't have economic power. You will cling on whatever economic power you have. I mean, there were buses driving people to their villages so that they can vote, and they voted for their clan. So I think it's also important to kind of be aware that when people say, oh, well, women aren't voting for women, we have to take into consideration the power structures and the fact that women are already marginalized and they want to...
Quickly, very little words, what is the way forward?
Mobilize, organize. Let's mobilize, let's organize, let's have good strategies, serious strategies for political participation of this country. We cannot afford anymore to sit back and say, oh, we want quota. No. I think we have to start acting seriously, fast, and use, we have got a large number of young women to begin with, and a large number of youth who can actually conform with us. We have to use what we have seriously and start working now. Otherwise, we just continue complaining at the end. It doesn't matter. I think that's what we have to do.
I'd like to say a very big thank you to Saadia and Dr. Amal for joining me today, for shedding light on some of the issues culturally, socially. We've looked at it from very many perspectives. Saadia has had some issues that she wanted to raise, and so there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. It's only the beginning. We have come from far. We still have a very far to go, but we're on the right path with a lot of conversation being had, and yes, so thank you for staying tuned. My name is Amina Hashi for CBA TV. This was Somaliland, the Democracy Untold.